Hey guys, so I'm seeing some movies at the BFI London Film Festival this year because they have put a lot of the program online, so naturally I decided to do it through that. However, before I jump into this review, I really want to cover some other stuff. As I briefly mentioned in my Antebellum review, cinemas in my area have closed down again, so there won't be any new cinema releases. I didn't actually see anything since the New Mutants in cinemas anyway, so yeah. However, I might actually review things I watch on streaming services this time around. I guess it just depends on what I wind up watching. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the first films I saw at the festival. The first movie I saw at the festival was Relic, and it was disappointing. I was interested in the idea this movie has. It's essentially just a tale of dementia but through a horror medium, which you don't really see often. I was kind of hoping this would be interesting because the concept really is, but unfortunately this is just a bad horror movie that also happens to have things to do with dementia in it. And most of the ties to dementia in this movie were really ineffective, which is unfortunate because that is the draw for the movie. Now that's not to say this movie was terrible, because it wasn't. Robin Nevin and Bella Heathcote did pretty great jobs with their performances, and I really liked their characters. The film was mostly well shot, and I enjoyed a lot of the framing choices. It was very well paced for what it was going for. And there are a few scenes in this movie that are actually effective, but unfortunately, at its core, this movie just doesn't work. I truly have no idea why they decided to make Emily Mortimer's character the protagonist. Of the three characters this movie focuses on, she is easily the least engaging or interesting out of them, and I did not care about her at any point in this movie whatsoever. This wasn't helped by the fact that of these three characters the film focuses on, Emily Mortimer gives the worst performance of them. She's not even bad, but her performance is just so okay and mediocre the entire time. It's the kind of bland performance that you could just throw into any other movie and it would fit just as well. She just brought nothing to this nothing of a character. The script for this movie was not good. There's a lot of setups in the movie and all of them are very obvious. Although for some reason about half of these setups never really get any level of payoff, and they are usually the more interesting of the setups. And the payoffs that we actually do get are usually dumb or unsatisfying. The film relies a bit too heavily on horror cliches without actually doing anything interesting with them. So you mean to tell me that the spooky thing that was edited and shot like a hallucination was just a dream the whole time? I never would have guessed this! Seriously, the dream sequences in this movie were just kind of obnoxious. Within these dream sequences, they just reused a lot of the same footage over and over, because if it was scary the first time, it's gonna be even scarier the second time, obviously. Speaking of scares, this movie was not scary. This movie was not tense. This movie was not atmospheric. This movie was not anything you would want to feel while watching a horror movie. Throughout the horror scenes in this film, I was mostly just bored. The horror factor in this movie was composed entirely of things we've seen a billion times before with nothing new added to them, or just old people scary. And considering what this movie is going for, that was probably one of the worst directions they could have taken with Robin Nevin's character. Quite frankly, the way dementia was depicted in this movie really was kinda messy. I get what they were going for, and I can see why they were going for it, but the presentation really did not work for this. There are scenes where Nevin's character is reacting to something because she forgot about something else because of her dementia, but the editing and music are trying to make it really tense. She'll say like one sentence in reaction to something, and the inverted pedal strings will come in with a few cuts to close-ups. And with what happens with her character in the last act, everything just begins to get tedious, although they do try and turn it around in the last 10 minutes, kind of, sort of, maybe. Unfortunately, those last 10 minutes are genuinely atrocious. They tried to go for an artsy, emotional ending, which could have worked if the ending they went with wasn't kind of annoying and dumb. There's one visual metaphor within the sequence that kind of maybe works, although the presentation of it wasn't great, but I really got what they were going for. But there's another one they follow up with immediately, which is just kind of awful. The ending to this movie just kinda sucked. The music in this movie was manipulative and overused, and oh boy, even outside of those spooky old person scenes, the editing in this film was not good. One of the characters goes down a staircase, and I swear to god there's 8 or 9 cuts for it. It was kind of fucking laughable, to be honest. So yeah, overall this movie was very disappointing, not a great start to the festival at all. For a debut, I've seen much worse, and Natalie Erica Jones definitely has potential, but regardless, for me, this movie failed both as a horror movie and as an interesting depiction of dementia through a unique medium. People seem to be split on this movie, but some people are enjoying it, so if you want to check it out, go ahead and don't let me stop you from enjoying it, but overall, personally, I would not recommend this. And I'm giving Relic a 3 out of 10. It's closer to a 4 than a 2. I'm kind of debating if it's a 3 or a 4, but for now, I am giving it a 3 out of 10. Next, I saw Wolfwalkers, and I absolutely loved it. First off, the animation in this film is genuinely phenomenal. I loved the creative use of different techniques throughout the movie. The design choices were outstanding, the color palette was astonishing, the framing choices were beautiful. I loved how everything looked in this movie overall. In terms of visuals, this movie is pretty flawless in my opinion. There are honestly shots in this movie that took my breath away. Presentation-wise, this movie is still pretty great even ignoring the visuals. The musical score was fantastic and really added to the movie a lot. I really loved the editing choices. I loved the sound design and effects in the movie, although the Wilhelm scream near the end of the film did kind of distract me a little bit, but that is literally one sound effect in the span of this entire movie. Every single performance without fail was phenomenal and nothing less, especially the child actors. The script to this movie is great and I really loved the tone of the film. There were a lot of aspects to the plot of this movie that actually caught me off guard, and I really found myself emotionally connecting with and feeling for these characters. There is not a single poorly developed or underwritten character in this entire movie, and I really loved all of the dynamics we see between them. All of the dialogue in this movie was fantastic, and every time a character talked to another, it flowed very naturally. As it stands, this is a meticulously crafted masterpiece. This is currently my second favorite movie of the entire year, behind I'm Thinking of Ending Things. There's still a few films to go at this festival, so who knows, maybe this will get beaten, but as it stands, this is a must-see that I would highly recommend. It'll be streaming on Apple TV on December 11th, so go check it out as soon as you get the chance. It is absolutely worth the watch. And I'm giving Wolfwalkers a 10 out of 10. Okay, that is 2 movies down, 4 to go. I will be posting reviews as I watch them into same structure as usual with these film festival type videos. That's the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe. I'm bad at outros, and I'll see you in whatever I do next.